My family celebrated after they cut me out of the will. They missed one tiny detail. My grandmother died on Tuesday. 4 days later, my family met at her lawyer's office to hear the will. Nobody talked about her. Marcus wanted the house, Claire wanted the money, and my parents only cared about the farmland. Before reading the will, Mr. Lawson said, "Your grandmother left one instruction. Don't make any financial decisions until I finish reading every document." Marcus laughed. "Just tell us who gets what." The lawyer ignored him. Marcus inherited the house. Claire inherited Grandma's investment account. My parents inherited the farmland. Then he looked at me. "Daniel receives $1. Marcus burst out laughing. Claire whispered, "She actually cut him out." My father smiled for the first time all morning. I wasn't surprised. Grandma always told me people showed their real character when money entered the room. Mr. Lawson wasn't finished. Mrs. Carter also left a written condition that applies to every beneficiary. Marcus interrupted. "There are always conditions." The lawyer continued. "Nobody may sell, rent, transfer, mortgage, renovate, or remove property from the estate for 30 days. If anyone violates this condition, their inheritance immediately passes to the remaining beneficiaries." Marcus shrugged. "Easy." Claire nodded. 30 days isn't long." Everyone signed the documents without reading them. 10 minutes after leaving the office, Marcus called a realtor. I heard him say, "List the house today. I'll delay the closing for a month." Claire accepted a $5,000 deposit from an antique dealer for Grandma's dining table. My parents scheduled a meeting with a construction company interested in buying the farmland. Before sunset, all of them had signed at least one agreement connected to the estate. I drove home and forgot about it. Around 9 that night, my phone rang. It was Mr. Lawson. His voice sounded calm but serious. "Daniel, I need you to come to my office first thing tomorrow morning." I asked why. He answered, "Because your grandmother was right." "About what?" There was a short pause. "She said your family wouldn't last 6 hours before breaking every rule she left behind." I arrived the next morning expecting another lecture about paperwork. Instead, Mr. Lawson placed 3 contracts on his desk. Marcus had signed a listing agreement for the house. Claire had signed a sales contract for the furniture. My parents had signed a letter of intent with the developer. Mr. Lawson looked at me and said, "Legally, every one of those documents is a violation of the inheritance conditions." I frowned. "So what happens now?" He opened the final page of Grandma's estate plan and turned it toward me. There was only one sentence highlighted in yellow. "If every beneficiary places money before family, transfer every forfeited share to Daniel immediately." I looked up at him. "You're telling me they just lost everything?" He slowly nodded. "They just don't know it yet." I asked Mr. Lawson one question. "Why didn't you stop them?" He replied, "Because your grandmother didn't want to test whether your family could follow instructions. She wanted to test whether they cared enough to read them." An hour later, Marcus called me. "Get over here. The lawyer is trying to scam us." When I arrived, everyone was already inside Mr. Lawson's office. Marcus threw the listing agreement onto the desk. "I never sold the house. I only listed it." Claire added, "I never sold the dining table. I only accepted a deposit." My father argued that signing a letter of intent wasn't the same as selling land. Mr. Lawson opened the estate documents and pointed to one paragraph. Mrs. Carter didn't prohibit selling. She prohibited attempting to profit from the estate before 30 days had passed. Nobody spoke. Marcus grabbed the papers and started reading for the first time. His face changed. "This clause wasn't here." "It was," Mr. Lawson answered. "You simply skipped it." Marcus looked at me. "You knew." "I didn't even read the documents until this morning," I replied. Claire suddenly stood up. "Fine. Cancel everything." Mr. Lawson slowly shook his head. It doesn't work like that. The moment each agreement was signed, the condition was broken. My mother started crying. She planned this. No, the lawyer answered. She expected this. Marcus slammed his fist on the table. She wanted Daniel to get everything. Mr. Lawson reached for another folder. Actually, no. He slid a document toward me. It wasn't a transfer of ownership. It was a list of obligations. Every property now came with unpaid taxes, maintenance costs, outstanding loans, and legal responsibilities that totaled more than $2 million. Marcus started smiling again. Congratulations, Daniel. You just inherited a financial disaster. I stared at the numbers in disbelief. Then Mr. Lawson quietly pushed one final document across the table. Your grandmother expected you to say that. Read the last page. At the bottom was a handwritten note. Real wealth was never the property. It's the company that owns it. I frowned. What company? Mr. Lawson smiled for the first time. That's what your family forgot to ask about. Marcus refused to believe the inheritance was gone. The next morning, he hired a lawyer and demanded an emergency meeting. Daniel manipulated Grandma, he said. Mr. Lawson placed the trust documents on the table. Then prove it. Marcus couldn't. Every page had been signed years before Grandma died. Claire tried another argument. We didn't know about the conditions. Mr. Lawson answered, the law doesn't require you to understand a contract. It only requires your signature. My father interrupted. Then we'll challenge the trust. You can, Mr. Lawson replied, but you'll lose. The trust was registered 26 years ago and updated 4 years ago. Every one of you signed the renewal. Marcus grabbed the papers and found his own signature. He stopped talking. 3 days later, they filed a lawsuit anyway. They claimed Grandma had been pressured into changing her estate plan. The judge ordered medical records, financial records, and every version of the will written during the last 10 years. The results destroyed their case. Grandma had updated the trust 6 different times, but the inheritance conditions never changed. Her doctor confirmed she was mentally healthy when she signed every document. The notary confirmed nobody else was present during the signing. Their lawyer quietly advised them to settle before the hearing. Marcus refused. The trial lasted 1 afternoon. The judge reviewed the contracts, listened to both sides, and asked Marcus one question. Did you sign a listing agreement for the house? Yes. Did your sister accept a deposit for inherited furniture? Yes. Did your parents negotiate the sale of inherited land before the waiting period ended? Yes. The judge closed the file. Then this court has nothing to decide. You violated the conditions voluntarily. The lawsuit was dismissed in less than 20 minutes. Marcus walked out furious. An hour later, he appeared at the lake house demanding the keys. I reminded him he no longer owned it. He threatened to break the locks. I called the police. They removed him from the property and warned him not to return. That should have ended everything. Instead, it made Marcus desperate. 2 weeks later, the company accountant called me. While transferring ownership records, he found several payments that didn't make sense. Over the previous 3 years, more than $380,000 had disappeared from company accounts. Every transfer had been approved using Grandma's digital signature. The problem was simple. Grandma had never used online banking. The bank opened an internal investigation. Security logs showed every transfer came from Marcus's office computer. He claimed Grandma gave him permission, but he couldn't produce a single email, message, or signed authorization. The bank froze his personal accounts while investigators reviewed the transactions. That's when I finally understood something Grandma had written in one of her journals. People think I changed the will because of greed. They're wrong. I changed it because I finally discovered who was stealing from me. Everything suddenly made sense. The inheritance had never been the trap. It was the evidence. Marcus hadn't lost everything because he tried to sell the house. He lost everything because Grandma had been building a legal case against him for years without him ever realizing it. Marcus called me the same evening the bank froze his accounts. He didn't sound angry anymore. He sounded desperate. "Daniel, listen, we can fix this. I'll give the money back." I asked one question. Which money? He stayed silent for several seconds before answering. "All of it." That was the first time he admitted he had stolen from Grandma. The following week, investigators searched Marcus's office and recovered every deleted financial record. They found fake invoices, forged payment approvals, and contracts that redirected company money into businesses he secretly controlled. The total wasn't $380,000 anymore. It was over $1.2 million. My parents insisted they knew nothing. Claire admitted Marcus had asked her to stay quiet after seeing unusual transfers, but she never imagined he was stealing from Grandma herself. The criminal case ended faster than anyone expected because Marcus accepted a plea agreement. He avoided a longer sentence by returning everything he could and selling nearly every asset he personally owned. A month later, I visited Grandma's house alone. While cleaning her office, I found the last journal she had written. The final page wasn't about money. It wasn't about Marcus either. It said, "If Daniel is reading this, then my plan worked. I never wanted you to become the richest person in the family. I wanted you to become the first person in our family who never had to wonder who could be trusted." That sentence changed everything. I stopped thinking about the inheritance as a reward. It was a responsibility. Instead of selling the lake house, I restored it. I kept the farmland and renewed the leases for the local families who had worked there for decades. The company's profits funded scholarships in Grandma's name and paid to renovate the town library where she had volunteered every Saturday for almost 20 years. People still ask me if winning the inheritance changed my life. They're wrong. The inheritance didn't change my life. It exposed everyone else's. Marcus believed Grandma left him a fortune. In reality, she left him one final chance to prove he had changed. He failed before the funeral flowers had even died.